It is that simple.
All right. So now, remember when I had talked about um, how the prerequisite for a God would be reality, right? God could not be the foundation for reality. And then you said, I am by definition not talking about the Christian God.
I forget what the context was earlier
Right.
when
Okay.
that,
So we were talking
yeah.
about I guess the terminus, right? And you were saying how God is the precondition for the logical absolutes and for reality.
Right. If we define reality as, I think, and
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to misrepresent you, is the space-time within which we exist. Is
Well,
that good enough?
okay, no, no. So, well, okay, this is difficult. All right, it's hard to explain. All right, I'm a metaphysical naturalist. So I do not appeal to anything outside of space time or anything outside of our physical reality as a cause for anything. However, I am willing to accept that there are things outside of that. There may be things that science and math could not explain. And those will also be real things. So when I say real things, it could just be our local presentation of space time, but I would include other things as well, like the supernatural, God, heaven or hell, any other angels, any of the things that are outside of those things. Now, I would say
What,
those are
what, sorry, are you saying you hold to the possibility of the supernatural existing? You just don't. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah. Sure, it is possible in a sense. It wouldn't violate any logical absolute.
Okay, so
So when I say possibility, I'm talking about like a metaphysical possibility, which anything that isn't a contradiction would be
okay,
possible in that sense.
okay, that's really interesting. So
So
the
I
existence of
would.
God would be logically possible.
It depends on the type of God. If you're
Christian
so
Trinitarian God.
okay, well, so Christian Trinitarian God, I'm okay with that. However, if your God is by definition one who grounds reality, I think that is a contradiction. If he is grounding reality, he is part of reality.
Okay, okay, okay. So you're defining. Okay, the problem here, I think, is a definition is always the case. I don't mean to speak down to you or nothing like that, but I think our problem is how we're defining reality. You're defining reality, including God, right? And I'm kind of not doing that in that I grant that if we define reality as whatever exists, then logically he has to be in that. Uh, but then we're just arguing of whether he is or is not in it.
So when you okay, so remember reality is all real things.
Uh, yeah, I'm seeing a problem popping up in my head with that position. Let me see if I can formulate it. Can I try? Or
Sure.
unless you want to get your thought out.
Well, sure. Well, I was going to say reality is all real things. If God is causing something, he is interacting with reality, which means he is by definition part of reality.
Yeah,
If
that's
all real
yeah.
things would include that God, then he's part of reality.
But
So
then can
I was gonna say my bad. Okay.
sorry.
So the set is reality. God would be a particular of the set.
Hmm.
If there is no set, God could not be a particular of that set.
Yeah, I would say that that's a conflation of the category of God and the category of what exists, what's reality. In a Christian perspective, what we call reality is the physical universe, energy, mass, universe, galaxies, galaxy clusters, all those things in there. And that none of that existed from eternity ago, that it had a beginning, which physics and astrophysics seems to suggest. We can get into the logic of it and the evidence for it. So therefore, at the beginning, but you're saying, I'm trying to represent you honestly and fairly. So I'm assuming what you're saying is, okay, even if the universe had an existence or came into existence, the thing that caused it to come into existence is still part of the reality of which the universe would exist,
Mm-hmm. And if there
right?
was an outside the universe, as long as that outside of the universe is real, and it would be real if I'm saying there's outside of it, that would
Okay.
also be part of reality. And the
Let me,
laws of logic would also apply to those things. Outside the universe, if you're outside the universe, you are outside the universe. And you cannot be outside the universe and not outside the universe.